Since this is a service about listening, I appreciate your attention to how we're going to begin, and that is that we would like to acknowledge that this service is being held by a community that gathers on the stolen traditional lands of the Massachusetts, Nipmuc, Pawtucket, and Wampanoag people. We pay respect to those indigenous peoples who lost their lives in the colonization of this land and recognize that these indigenous tribes are still today facing violations of sovereignty, territory, and water. We also give thanks to the earth we walk upon, the waters, the life-giving plants, and all the earth's creatures, as well as the winds, sun, moon, and stars. We recognize that this is just a first step in moving towards right relationship with native peoples and healing of the earth. Good morning. And welcome to the First Parish Church of Stowe and Acton, a welcoming and spiritual community. My name is Neil Saunders, and I serve as chair of the Worship Committee. If this is your first time with us, we welcome you. Please let us know you were here by filling out one of the visitor information cards in the pews and hand it to an usher or drop it in the plate. Please also feel free to ask me for more information about the church and its programs after the service, or our tech and Zoom hosts through the chat if you're online. Our minister and staff are mostly on break for the summer, but they're listed on the front of the order of service. Our services are now mask optional, with a masking section to my left in the rear, which we don't have anybody in that section as yet, but that is masks only. Please let us know that you were here by filling out one of the, I've already read that. If you would like a large print order of service or a hymnal or an assisted listening device, please ask our ushers. Our assisted listening devices work throughout the building if you'd like to listen to the service from another space for any reason. After the service, please join us for some social time in our fellowship hall, which is one level down at the other end of the building, or in a breakout room if you're joining us online. I'd like to draw your attention to the announcements in our order of service and also invite you to check out our webpage for more information. And you can also sign up there for our newsletter and email alerts. And now, let us come together for a time of community, singing, and worship.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming. Ooh, I like that. A little too high, maybe. Okay, I feel more like myself now. This is a section from Breaths. Listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestor's voice when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestor's breath in the voice of the waters. And now as Neil lights our chalice, this reading is from Black Elk. Hear me, 4 quarters of the world, a relative I am. Give me strength to walk the soft earth. Give me the eyes to see and the strength to understand. Look upon these faces of children without number, that they may face the winds and walk the good road to the day of quiet. This is my prayer. Hear me. And now, please rise. We're going to go straight to the covenant and affirmation. I believe the words for the covenant, yes, are in your order of service. Love is the spirit of this church,
and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. From all that dwell below the skies, let words of love and peace arise. Let joyful songs of praise be sung through every land, by every tongue.
Thank you. So today our story for all ages is actually going to be a sing-along for all ages. And there's going to be a little bit of audience participation here in the sanctuary, if, of course, you choose to do this, but I think it might be fun. Let me just add that. And for folks on Zoom, I'm going to make some suggestions for how you can fully enjoy this experience too. So for those in the sanctuary, on your right side, if this half of the congregation would please stand and face this way. And then this part face this way. And at home, you can pick somebody else to look at online, or you can look in a mirror to sing hello, goodbye to each other. Just as a fun sing-along for all ages.
You say yes, I say no. You say stop, I say go, go, go. Oh no, you say goodbye and I say hello. Hello, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye, I say hello. Hello, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye, I say hello. I say hi, you say low, you say why, and I say I don't know. Oh no, you say goodbye and I say hello. Hello, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye, I say hello. Hello, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye, I say hello. Why, why do you say goodbye, goodbye, goodbye? Oh no, you say goodbye and I say hello. Hello, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye, I say hello. Hello, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye, I say hello. You say yes, I say no. You say no, you say stop, and I say go, go, go. Oh no, you say goodbye, and I say hello. Hello, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye, I say hello. Hello, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye, I say hello. Hello, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye, I say hello.
Thank you, everyone. Neil and I particularly enjoyed that song. I think he might remember that when our twin children would be asked a question and each would yell the opposite answer, Mom would break into a chorus of hello, goodbye. All right, so at this point in our service, we'd like to acknowledge that we're all here and some have a joy or sorrow that they would like to share with the congregation. So I'm going to ask the ushers to each take a microphone, please. Neil will light individual candles for those joys and sorrows expressed. And Jenny, of course, is going to be helping with everybody online. So for all those joys and sorrows that we've heard and that we also carry in our hearts, please know that we are a community of caring and supporting folk. Okay, so the tech host and the Zoom host are a little afraid this isn't going to work, but I asked them to please play the video that you can sing along to if you can see the words on the screen. We're going to do our best here. And it's Hear My Heart by Andy Mineo, who wrote this song for his sister. Emmeline gave me a line for when this would happen, and I forgot it already, but it was like, we're Unitarians, we'll deal with it, right? Something like that? Something along those lines. She's very gracious. Basically, this is a rap song by a young man whose sister is deaf. And as children, and I assume an older brother, he kind of didn't pay much attention to that, and in the song he kind of mentions that, along with his friends, he could kind of make fun of her for not being in the world with him. Should we try a little more? Or? You get the idea. Thank you. So for people who are deaf,
that's when I met your friends, and they was all having conversation, but they was saying stuff that I couldn't understand. Then all of a sudden it felt like I understood something I missed my whole life. For the first time I was wearing your shoes, and for the first time I was hearing your views. I never knew how complicated life is when you feel so isolated. And I know we don't speak much, cause when talking got hard, all I ever did was throw the piece up. My big sister Grace, I'm sorry, I never learned to sign. And even though you were born deaf, I pray you forgive me for the years I lived blind.
Show ya. It's gonna take time.
Thank you, Jenny. So you probably noticed that there was a lot of graphics, a lot of animation in the song, and he was signing, and I made a mistake. He is the younger brother. But the visuals are meant to explain the rhythm and the sounds of the music that the rest of us hear. At this point, we're going to have a couple readings, and I'm going to ask Emmeline to introduce them.
In these two readings, each person is at a point where she needs to find a way to ask God to listen to what she needs help with. In the first reading, Margaret, a fifth grader, is encountering new situations, and she needs a new point of view to listen to. She has moved from New York City to a New Jersey suburb with her parents, who are raising her without a religion. They are as comfortable with Mom being a Christian and Dad being Jewish as they are with Margaret, who will make her own choice of religion when she is older. What they don't know is that Margaret's new teacher, Mr. Benedict, has suggested that she use religion as a topic for her fifth grade project. In the second reading, Elizabeth is married and has a good job, and she enjoys social relationships, in particular a close relationship with her boss. But she has questions she might be missing real meaning and true satisfaction in her life. She is considering making huge changes, leading to a future she'd love living. Even though she asks deep questions, she finds no clear vision or detailed plan that will lead her to an improved life, and she becomes sadder and more unsettled. One night, she is in so much turmoil that she finds herself turning to prayer.
And the first reading is by the author Judy Blume. Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. What would you think of me doing a project on religion? You wouldn't mind, would you? I'd tell you about it, and I wouldn't make any decisions without talking to you first. I think it's time for me to decide what I want to be. I can't go on being nothing forever, can I? Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. I'm really on my way now. By the end of the school year, I'll know all there is to know about religion. And before I start junior high, I'll know which one I am. Then I'll be able to join the Y as a Christian or the Center as a Jew, just like everybody else. Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. I've been to church. I didn't feel anything special in there, God, even though I wanted to. I'm sure it has nothing to do with you. Next time I'll try harder. Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. I did an awful thing today, just awful. I'm definitely the most horrible person who ever lived, and I really don't deserve anything good to happen to me. I picked on Laura Danker. Just because I felt mean, I took it all out on her. I really hurt Laura's feelings. Why did you let me do that? I've been looking for you, God. I looked in the temple. I looked in church. And today, I looked for you when I wanted to confess, but you weren't there. I didn't feel you at all. Not the way I do when I talk to you at night. Why, God? Why do I only feel you when I'm alone? Dear Mr. Benedict, I have conducted a year-long experiment in religion. I have not come to any conclusions about religion I want to be when I grow up, if I want to be any special religion at all. I read 3 books on the subject. I went to church services at First Presbyterian. I went to the United Methodist Church on Christmas Eve. I went to confession at St. Bartholomew Church, but I had to leave the confessional because I didn't know what to say. I have not tried being a Buddhist or a Muslim because I don't know any people of these religions. I have not really enjoyed my religious experiments very much, and I don't think I'll make up my mind one way or the other for a long time. I don't think a person can decide to be a certain religion just like that.
This is a reading by Elizabeth Gilbert from Eat, Pray, Love. Of course, I've had a lot of time to formulate my opinions about divinity since that night on the bathroom floor when I spoke to God directly for the first time. excuse me. In the middle of that dark November crisis, though I was not interested in formulating my views on theology, I was interested only in saving my life. I had finally noticed that I seemed to have reached a state of hopeless and life-threatening despair. And it occurred to me that people sometimes in this state will approach God for help. I think I read that in a book somewhere. What I said to God through my gasping sobs was something like this: "Hello, God. How are you? I'm Liz. It's nice to meet you." That's right, I was speaking to the creator of the universe as though we'd just been introduced at a cocktail party. But we work with what we know in this life, and these are the words I always use at the beginning of a relationship. In fact, it was all I could do to stop myself from saying, "I've always been a big fan of your work." "I'm sorry to bother you so late at night," I continued, "but I'm in serious trouble. And I'm sorry I haven't ever spoken to you directly before, but I do hope I've always expressed ample gratitude for all the blessings you've given me in this life." This thought caused me to sob even harder. God waited me out. I pulled myself together enough to go on. "I'm not an expert at praying, as you know, but can you please help me? I'm in desperate need of help. I don't know what to do. I need an answer. Please tell me what to do. Please tell me what to do. Please tell me what to do." And so the prayer narrowed itself down to that simple entreaty: "Please tell me what to do," again and again. I don't know how many times I begged. I only know that I begged like someone who was pleading for her life. And the crying went on forever until quite abruptly it stopped. Quite abruptly I found I was not crying anymore. I'd stopped crying, in fact, in mid-sob. My misery had been completely vacuumed out of me. I lifted my forehead up off the floor and sat up in surprise, wondering if I could now see some great being who had taken my weeping away. But nobody was there. I was just alone. But not really alone either. I was surrounded by something I can only describe as a little pocket of silence. A silence so rare I didn't want to exhale for fear of scaring it off. I was seamlessly still. I don't know when I'd ever felt such stillness. And then I heard a voice. Now, please don't be alarmed. It was not an Old Testament Hollywood Charlton Heston voice, nor was it a voice telling me I must build a baseball field in my backyard. It was merely my own voice, speaking from within my own self. But this was my voice as I had never heard it before. This was my voice, but perfectly wise, calm, and compassionate. This was what my voice would sound like if I'd only ever experienced love and certainty in my life. How can I describe the warmth of affection in that voice, as it gave me the answer that would forever seal my faith in the divine? The voice said, "Go back to bed, Liz." I exhaled. It was so immediately clear that this was the only thing to do. I would not have accepted any other answer. I would not have trusted a great booming voice that said either "you must divorce your husband" or "you must not divorce your husband." Because that's not true wisdom. True wisdom gives the only possible answer at any given moment. And that night, going back to bed was the only possible answer. "Go back to bed," said this omniscient interior voice, "because you don't need to know the final answer right now. At 3 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday in November. Go back to bed because I love you. Go back to bed because the only thing you need to do for now is get some rest and take good care of yourself until you do know the answer. Go back to bed so that when the tempest comes, you'll be strong enough to deal with it. And the tempest is coming, dear one, very soon, but not tonight."
This is the point in our service where we share our gifts. Our offertory plate for July and August is being shared with two organizations. Horizons at LMS is part of a national summer program for underserviced youth. It creates community, exposes children to nature, provides food and swimming lessons, and fills gaps in their education. And also Libros para Todos, offers teaching training workshops in and around San Miguel de Allende in Mexico. To nurture students' literacy, it provides literature to students, and it arranges for school visits by the authors of books featured.
In the order of service, it may say we're going to see a video, but actually, Emmeline and Sue have stepped up to provide our anthem for the collection. Thank you.
My life flows on in endless song, above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails the new creation. Above the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What through the tempest loudly roars, I hear the truth, it liveth. What through the darkness around me flows, songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. Since love is Lord of heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble sick with fear, and hear their death knell ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? In prison cells and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing? My life flows on in endless song, above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails the new creation. Above the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing?
Yes, indeed. My name is Ingrid, and I like to listen. Of course, I like to talk, too. Lately, I've done a self-assessment, and to my dismay, I have found that I'm talking too much and not listening enough. So here I am, presenting a Sunday service about listening, in part to see if you'd like to listen like I do, but also because I want to retune my own listening skills. What are my favorite things to listen to? I like to listen to waterfalls. Sometimes I pause and try to become with the sounds. Become one with the sounds, did I say that? I think to myself that I want to recall these sounds the next time I'm in a bad mood. To remember that in this moment, to remember that in this moment, that water is still probably falling at that spot on its way downstream, and the water is enjoying it. I like to listen in buildings like this church, or in a museum, or in a concert hall with live music playing. Who knows to what degree I can actually detect how the acoustics bring those notes to my ears and to my soul. But I don't need to self-assess that one. I'm happy with the way I appreciate acoustics. But one of my absolute favorite places to listen is in a soundproof room. When my toddler son needed hearing tests at Mass Eye and Ear Institute, and yes, he had a real need for that caliber of tests, I sat with him in the soundproof room. Usually, a young child would not need a parent in the room. But what the experts on the other side of the glass did not know was that he had test anxiety to begin with. He felt so much pressure to raise his hand only when he heard that tone that he was unable to listen, because maybe he was imagining the tone, or maybe it really played. He did outgrow that anxiety, but then I was denied this golden opportunity to be in absolute still silence every few months. Years ago, on a tour of a film and TV studio in Los Angeles, my family and I entered the employees' screening room. Another bit of heaven on earth for me. No air moving except our breaths. Of course, I like to listen to people talking too. Sometimes I can hear an underlying mood, or an idea, or an unstated message. A little more on that later. Thus far in this service, I've put a lot of listening opportunities in front of you, hoping that something in each of them may spark meaning or inspiration for you. Sue and Emmeline sang The Sounds of Silence by Simon and Garfunkel. And for those of you who didn't get to hear it on the recording, I apologize. As we entered our time together, I quoted from a Senegalese poet and a holy man of the Oglala Lakota Sioux. We had a mock disagreement with each other, all in fun, singing the Beatles' Hello, Goodbye. A rapper told us how he apologized to his sister for not learning sign language. Two people in different circumstances asked God for advice, and each listened for the answer. And the words of Pete Seeger were sung to a familiar hymn tune. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Above the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? I hope that something in these listening opportunities, maybe more than one thing, inspired you or enriched you or gave you a new, delightful idea. We are all connected by listening and by being listened to. This morning, in this setting, it seems appropriate to look at spiritual and some religious teachings around this topic. Do you feel any affinity with religious traditions or expression of the role of listening in that tradition? Religious teachings seem to me to start with, listen to God, listen to what I tell you about God, so that you can tell the next generation what is right and true. So just a little bit of current perspective from some major religions. I'm going to just give you a little bit of a few essays. The first from a Hindu writer. Sound is regarded as divine in Hinduism, so it is fitting that listening has always held a central role in the faith. Our core scriptures are referred to as shruti, which means that which is heard, as they were originally heard and in oral transmission directly from God. In the early days of human civilization, even before writing, shruti was faithfully preserved without alteration. Important because it's the word of God. And it was done by means of instruction from a guru. This went on generation after generation for thousands of years. And a Buddhist writer says, returning to silence is hearing, listening, stepping into the receptive mind of Zazen. Listening is the active component of hearing. Listen for a moment right now. I hear the sound of a refrigerator, a car going by, birds in the yard. Listening takes place against a background of silence. This is also a practice. From Judaism, the Shema, which is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. The Shema begins with an imperative, listen. Just that word alone is a powerful call. Listening is not an easy thing to do. More than the simple act of hearing, true listening requires us to open ourselves up to another's experience, so that heart touches heart and we are changed. It is what allows us to develop an I-thou rather than an I-it relationship. It is something we do with our full selves by sensing and feeling what another is trying to convey so that together we can remove the barrier between us. From Catholicism, listening involves allowing ourselves to be met. Perhaps you know someone who listens really well. What makes them a good listener? Of some saints, it is said that when they talked to another person, it was like that person was the only person in the world at that moment. To listen to others so deeply, the saints listened to God first. They made room for him to meet them. And you might know that I have some Quakerism in my background and I carry it with me today. Quakers typically have a couple kinds of worship, but the kind that I practiced with Neil too is silent worship, where one gathers with others in a room and sits in silence to listen for God, to listen to what God, whatever name you want to use in that context, says to you. And then there's a process of individual discernment. Is God speaking to me? Or is God speaking through me for others? And at that point, a Quaker would rise and speak what they were hearing for the benefit of the room. It's a powerful experience. And so in my own vernacular, it's kind of summed up this way. Listen to the Supreme Being's big ideas and the answers to life's questions. Listen to the Quakers who are listening for God to speak through them for the big ideas and answers to life's questions. And Baha'i faith says, depending on the situation, whether we listen actively or passively, it means fully concentrating on what is being said rather than just hearing the message of the speaker. This kind of attentive listening involves real hearing, not just with ears, but with all the senses. Religion is not the only place for listening, and I think in our world, more listening needs to be done. Ingrid, are you listening? People are desperate to be heard in so many ways these days. There are many reasons to practice good listening, but in busy lives, lots of things going on, how much energy should one spend on improving their listening skills? You may know that I'm a certified life coach, and training to become a life coach means spending an academic year learning to listen. It's a rigorous, difficult process, very rewarding, and I enjoyed it. However, that's not the only way we can go about it today. If you would choose to take on more interest in listening or thinking about listening or practicing listening, there's a lot of ways you can do that. Some options about learning about listening, sometimes it's called deep listening or active listening. There's lots of different terms. And listening and hearing are debated in the literature with different meanings. So you can get really deep into listening. But you can just get on your computer and look for books, essays, TED Talks. There's lots of ways you can do it. Another way, and this is a little plug for the small group ministries here at FPC, we practice listening to each other in our monthly meetings. But here's a very simple way to get started if you're so inclined. And the idea is that the words listen and silent have the same letters. And Jenny, if it's not playing, I apologize. You might be able to just click each slide. Oop. Something got confused in the timing. So at the top we have listen, and then it turns to slighten. There we go. I think you get the idea. You can send me your email address and I'll send you the PowerPoint. You can look at it at home. It's really not that difficult. But really, silent and listening are very closely connected. Sometimes it starts with silence and lends itself, or then leans into listening, and sometimes it starts with listening and one realizes one needs to be silent to do that. And thank you for listening to me. And I, at this point, also want to say a big thank you to our tech host, Joe Stadolnik. Appreciation and gratitude to Jenny Edgerton, our Zoom host. They've been working on this since Friday evening. And how can I keep from singing the praises of Sue Stewart and Emmeline Jones? And at this point, I need to go back to we do the closing song. I moved here we go. Yes, it is a UU service. Closing song. Give it. Benediction. Thank you. And if you'd like to read with me, you're welcome to. Listen to your breath. Listen to your inner voice. Listen to each other. Listening is an act of love. Thank you.
Peace be with you till we meet again. As life lays its task before you, keep God's banner floating o'er you. Peace be with you till we meet again.
Mom, don't forget, you can customize and save it.
How to escape the heat if you don't have an air conditioner. This only takes 5 minutes.
I am here to 10 o'clock on Friday, and that didn't happen.